Hello, everyone, and welcome to ESEA at Sky's podcast, monthly podcast, Easy Conversations. This month, we are going to talk about Filipino Barrio Fiesta, which is the festival that we all celebrate as Filipinos. I'm joined today by some very special guests. We're joined firstly by Dominic O'Neill, which is a colleague of mine here at Sky, and also Mae Magnaye-Williams, who is a very well-known UK-based author, cook, and photographer. Welcome both to
Thank you.
Today. Thank you, firstly, for joining us today. And as a fellow Filipino, I guess we're in the Burr months now, so I guess Merry Christmas as well.
Yes.
So firstly, for those listening out there, for Filipinos, we start celebrating Christmas as soon as 1st of September starts. So Merry Christmas to all the Filipinos out there. But let's redirect firstly back to kind of what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about Barrio Fiesta. So I guess I wanted to firstly talk to you guys and reach out and just say, ask, what does Barrio Fiesta mean to you? I mean, we've all grown up in different parts of the UK and different, backgrounds. So I wanted to kind of reach out firstly to say what exactly does Barrio Fiesta mean to you? Mae, let's start with you. What does Barrio Fiesta mean with you?
It means a lot to me. I've grown up to going Barrio Fiesta every summer. It used to be in Hounslow, which is a lot easier to get to. You'll take the underground and then you'll get to Hounslow Central. Yeah. And then you're there and it's walkable to the park. And as a young teenager at that time, when I first went to it, it was like amazing to see so many Filipinos gathered in one place. You have all the food, the barbecue. It was an amazing experience because when I first came to the country, I didn't live in London. So I first lived in Kent, in Sevenoaks. So, when I first landed in the country, I didn't really see very much Filipinos at the time. So, moving into London when I went to college and going to Barrio Fiesta, it was like, oh my God, I feel like I am home. I'm with my peoples, I've got my food. It was happy. It was a happy summer. It kind of completed my summer growing up.
Yeah. Dom, what was your experiences and what does Barrio Fiesta mean with you?
I think what it means for me, it was food. I think that's a very basic one to say, like the food, just all the different community coming together. So my experience of growing up, my Barrio Fiesta would be Belfast. So like that's not traditional England or UK, you wouldn't think about it. So like growing up mix, my experience of other Filipinos was just in my family, my immediate family. And then my aunts and my uncles would just come to Northern Ireland and to visit us, and I think that was it. At a very young age, being exposed to the festivals, there was more people gathering in one place of more Filipino people, and I was just so shocked to see how many Filipino people live in Northern Ireland and in Belfast and coming all over to Ireland for this festival to celebrate and the community. So it was just it was an educating thing for me to see at a young age and a good thing to me to see. And I think that's very important for my mum to share that with me. So it meant like experience all these different, everyone was my tita, everyone was really, all the food was there, everyone felt like everyone knew each other. So yeah, it meant a lot. So like good community and good food in the short answer.
Yeah, always the good food. And I guess from my point of view, that's also what I kind of associate with Fiesta is I guess it's a mix between you guys where like I do remember the Hounslow Barrio Fiesta that we held in London, although that was when I was very young, and then the more recent one that I remember is the one in Hampton, which was the one that kind of has kind of almost taken over, the bit bigger and a bit more commercial. However, what I do remember of the Hounslow one is going there, just basically doing a big shop. Like my parents would do like a really big shop of like snacks and other food that we just don't get. Like, well, it's not easy because at that time, in like the kind of mid to late 90s and stuff, like the Asian supermarkets are kind of like, they weren't really around yet, and my mom would want specific, like, you know, ingredients for her cooking and stuff, so we'd just buy in bulk, like all of these random stuff that she would add to her cooking, and then we'd get to eat there as well, but get a bit of lechon and barbecue, and yeah, it was almost just like a day out where we could see the rest of the Filipino community, and really see like other people's. What I distinctly remember is like there'd be like usually some parades and stuff, and usually there'd be the kind of the queen, kind of like a kind of beauty queens being being given their titles and stuff, and doing their rounds around the festival and stuff. So it's like I have very vivid memories of it, and really happy, and kind of, yeah, it's definitely a place that I remember Filipino Londoners to kind of go to and really kind of you know, celebrate their heritage. So yeah. And Dom, I wanted to come back to you on your kind of upbringing in Northern Ireland. Like, what was it like? What's the community like over there? And what's it, you know, is there a very strong Filipino contingency over there? Is there, you know, growing up, did you see much?
I would say, so like, I would say, it's obviously I was born in the 90s, so the early 2090s, it was just like, that's the experience for me. Compared to now, there's a lot more Filipinos there in terms of the NHS being based in Belfast. So a lot of Filipino nurses have came there and lived there, and I feel like with a smaller community, I'm not based in Belfast, I'm based in a small seaside town 30 miles out. And when that's growing up with that community, it was just so unknown. It was just so unknown to me, and it wasn't. I just did. There was no other Filipino people around. The only Asian people you would see is the people who were in the Chinese restaurants working, things like that. So my exposure was really much my family. It was like my mum, my Lola, my titas, and my titas who would come over and visit and things like that. That was the main exposure to that, and to have that, to see more Filipino people would be going to the city, to Belfast, and you would see the odd Filipino person walking past, and you just know. And in terms of them being such a small community, everyone knew everyone as well. So even though my mum is works in healthcare as well, she worked in a different type of healthcare within the community. And in terms of all the nurses, they would all know each other, or they've been there for a while, or they all came over to Belfast at the same time from the Philippines. I'm saying from England or from the Philippines itself, and just slowly grasp that as a child. I was like, oh, there's other people like my mum here. That's very good to know, because as a child, I was very racially aware at age 4, which I'm very shocked. People are shocked about. I distinctly remember, I never saw any difference between my mum and the other kids, Irish mums, and I was just like, one point a child pointed it out, and I was like, oh, I never knew. So, but my mum's been always strong and always telling me, like, this is where I'm from. I'm very proud where we're from. This is what we eat. This is where your grandmother's from. This is where she comes to visit us from. Things like that. So that community has grown even better. So like my mum going to the fiestas, bring me each year to experience that and have that wider community. But then my mum will have her friends over, so the community's still there. She'll have her friends over, they're playing mahjong, they are just cooking food and things like that. So that community is there within these smaller communities, and the Fiesta brought all that together. And it's very big. I don't know what it's like in the Republic of Ireland, but to see it's all UK based, they would all come up from that. So slowly but surely getting older and being more aware of the wider Filipino community and just learning to accept that, really.
Yeah, nice. And Mae, you've previously mentioned that you came over from the Philippines and straight to Kent, and tell us more about that, and as well when you moved towards the London kind of side of things, and how did what was there many Filipinos then? What was the vibe then?
Gosh, well, firstly, major culture shock, weather, that's for one. I arrived in London Heathrow in December of 99 actually, 99. And I was 14 at that time. Didn't have a coat. So I think my mom just gave me like a light spring jacket or something. And I remember coming out of the plane and it was just freezing cold in comparison to like being in the Philippines, and that was the first thing. And then driving down to Kent, it was beautiful because I see like the countryside and I see the city, passing the city into Kent. And school-wise, it was also a major shock to me because the school system is so different to the Philippines. It was hard to adapt. And in my school, I think there are about 5 different nationalities to majority English people, students. And there was luckily one other Filipino in my class, in my year, who is also half Filipino and half English. So that kind of made it a little bit better. She would kind of like ask me, how are you, comfort me and things like that. But when she isn't around, when we're not in the same class, there was a lot of, because I'm so different and my accent at that time probably was more American English than it is now with a Filipino twang. So, I'm basically a standout. And I think a few girls, it's an all-girls school, which is another shock for me because coming from the Philippines, it's always a mixed school, to an all-girls school surrounded by a lot of girls. And, they tried to do things to me as in like try to intimidate me and bully me. But, I said, look, I don't want to cause any trouble. I just leave me alone kind of thing. But it was hard. It's definitely something I did not expect coming to this country firsthand. And then I did my GCSEs in Kent. I visited London with a friend of mine for the day, and I saw everyone's faces, all different types of faces. And I just thought to myself, this is where I want to live. So when I finished my GCSEs, I told my mom, Mama, I want to go to London. I want to live in London. I want to go to college. And my friend told me St. Charles Sixth Form College in Ladbroke Grove, they have loads of Filipinos there. So that's where I want to go. Thankfully, my mom understood and she said, okay, you can go. And that's it really. Came to London, started living in London around 2002, 2001, 2002, and then stayed here ever since and loved it. I love London. I love how diverse London is. I love how you can get loads of different cuisines in London because I'm also a foodie. So I love to eat different food, different type of cuisine. So yeah, really enjoy living in London.
Nice.
There are a downside to it too, but I think in comparison to where I was, I love London.
Yeah. I guess that's where I share that sentiment. Like I grew up in Southwest London, very kind of very big Korean contingency around my area because I live near New Malden, so southwest London. However, in my school there was, I think there was one other Filipino, but they weren't in my year group. But you'd always get that kind of like Dom was saying, like you'd recognize the other Filipinos, so you'd get that, you know, kind of nod.
The nod.
The nod. But other than that, like there was no other Filipinos in my year group, so I was kind of, I guess I was kind of accepted as, you know, one of the kind of white group of, you know, I kind of mixed in and just became just sort of, you know, just mixed in with them, and I guess that's where my conflict came from when I was younger, where I knew that, you know, from at home my mum and dad would only speak to me in Ilocano, which is our dialect, but then outside of the house it's just all English, so I don't represent that whole Filipino thing outside of my own house. And I always, as a kid, I was kind of like, I know that I've got a different name to everyone. My surname doesn't sound very English or anything, despite the fact that I talk like everyone else. Like it's my name is completely different, and I always kind of shone away from that. Kind of, I always like parked that thing. I wasn't Filipino. I was this kind of British hybrid kind of kid, and it was only really until probably around uni time, you know, back when, you know, sixth form and uni time, where I started to realize that, you know, I really needed to reconnect with my culture. And thankfully, you know, my mum taught me, my mum and my gran, actually, my gran was the main one actually that taught me my mother tongue. And at the time when I was young, like I didn't know that was going to be important in my life. And now as an adult, and especially since, you know, around uni time, where I started to realize that is how I start to connect with my culture. That is how I communicate with all of my 20 cousins back home. And rather than them speaking this really weird kind of hybrid kind of Ilocano English type thing, and struggling to communicate. So that's when I started to really connect with my culture again, and really start to appreciate that, yes, we are, you know, we're different. We've got our own culture that we bring to the UK, and really that's what's important for me now. Like, it's kind of bring that message across, and having that rich culture is actually a really good thing for places like the UK to start to understand other things about the world and really educate themselves about what we do, because we do everything so differently. And I love that, and that's why we do, you know, the podcast like this, where we talk about our cultures and we really celebrate it. So yeah, like I guess that's where I come from, and what's really important to me, and in terms of my kind of Filipino culture. Okay, so I want to pivot back to kind of Barrio Fiesta again, and wanted to ask if there's any memories you have of attending any kind of Barrio Fiesta in the Philippines, maybe in your hometown, maybe in your family's hometowns, any kind of traditions that they do at all. Dom?
I actually did celebrate once. I was actually in Boracay for one of them. So
Nice.
there's a picture of my Lola. There's a picture of my Lola, like with the saint with the radish, and there's just me in the background holding her hand. My Lola's not here anymore, but that's like a very strong memory of like that culture being rooted in me. Someone who's grew up in the UK, who is mixed, who doesn't have that exposure every year, to have that, and just remembering that, and just the celebration, the laughter, just being on the beach in this beautiful, beautiful country where I feel like I said, being being self-aware that you're ethnically different than other people especially in Northern Ireland when it's not London, and even England where it's even less diverse, where it's just a lot of Irish people. So like that's when I felt very rooted and connected. So that was one time I did celebrate. I was in the Philippines. We're just walking down the beach. They have all their signs, they have all their saints. And I remember my dad just holding the camcorder of me and just me and my nan walking down, just being happy with all the people around us, celebrations, and just walking down the beach. Really hot. I was not used to that weather, so I was the opposite of what Mae was encountering, coming from Ireland, which is a cold country, and then going to a country where it was, oh my goodness, so warm. I like to say I tan very well. So like I'm saying my genes are, oh, I tan very well, but then I burn in my face. You can tell which genes are coming through when I'm like, oh, a nice and olive skin here, but very red in my face. But yeah, that was, so yeah, just walking down in the beaches of Barrio with my nan, just celebrating, holding her hand. And it's just a great time to be alive, really. It was just one of those things, like one of those culture things where I feel like this is what I want. This is why I feel like I've been missing out. And I felt connected to it. I didn't feel out of place to it. I felt, or I meant to be holding my grandmother's hand in this place where my family comes from. So that was a very deep rooted memory. And there's a picture to prove it.
Oh, we want to see this later.
Yeah, we need to see that.
I'm not, and it's just my Lola, but there's a picture to prove it. So it's sacred on me. And I'll send it to you on Instagram because it is.
Please, yes, please.
And Mae, tell us about some memories that you might have back home of
Back
Fiesta.
home.
Yeah.
So my mom is from Leyte. My dad is from Batangas, but we have a home in Leyte because my mom wanted to be closer to her family. So actually my mom, she's been working in the UK, but before that, both of my parents were in Taiwan with a Danish family, working for a Danish family. And the Danish family moved to the UK, but they didn't need my dad. They didn't need a driver or a gardener or anything like that. So when my mom came, it was just to the UK. My dad went back home to look after me and my sister. And every Barrio Fiesta in my mom's area in in Makinhas, Leyte, he loves to cook. So he was the one who taught me how to cook. And I remember him cooking loads of food in our backyard, in our dirty kitchen. You have like your main kitchen inside the house, but you have a dirty kitchen as well outside.
Yeah, for employees who aren't Filipino, in a Filipino household, this is just a bit of background information, I guess. In a Filipino household, we normally have two kitchens. One of them's our show kitchen, which is the kitchen inside, which basically we don't ever use, and then the other kitchen is what we call our dirty kitchen, which is outside of the house, usually in the back garden, and that's where all of the cooking happens, basically. So it's more of a kind of the show kitchen is for show when guests come in, but then the dirty kitchen, it's not actually dirty, it's just where everything happens. It's where all of the magic happens. So yeah,
all the big pots and everything happens in the back kitchen, basically. And there was one photo actually I showed at the Mary Berry show for the Easter feast, where my dad was cooking lechon, a whole hog roast, and he was there sort of like turning it, manually. So that's like the fondest memory I have of him cooking for Barrio Fiesta, because it was just like he passed away back in 2011. So it was kind of what made me want to cook Filipino food in the UK. Just to be closer to him, because it was one of those things that we spent time. He's very like manly, but he said, you need to learn how to cook because your mom isn't here. So it was kind of our moments together. So I said, okay, you need to add this. This is the secret to this dish, or da 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 da. And that was my way to getting close to him. And Barrio Fiesta, I have actually every Barrio Fiesta, Christmas and Barrio Fiesta, I have our neighbors coming in, maybe in the more less privileged background, and I would host games. So one of the games I used to host was the newspaper game. So it's like a musical statue or something, but every time you stop the music, you fold the newspaper and it just becomes like this tiny thing, and you have to stand on it and not fall out of the newspaper. If you fall out of the newspaper, then you lose. You don't get the prize. You don't get it. The prizes are like sweets and chocolates, and something that maybe they can't afford to have every day. And it was one of those things that I love doing, and we get to play with our neighbors at the same time. So those kind of games I remember, and we share the food that we make and things like that. So it was like here, very communal, very social, and getting the community together. And then in the evening, we have like a Barrio disco. Like, it's funny because you see everyone gathering, and you have the pageant as well, and you have the whole program, and you're kind of like, everyone's so shy to go in the middle to dance. They're like, they really want to dance, but until like late, no one sees you. And like, oh yeah, the floor gets really full, and then you kind of have the courage to go up and dance with your friends, kind of thing, and you kind of check out other people and other kids, and like, it was actually really fun. I love Barrio Fiesta, and the fact that we have that in London, in the UK, and now all over the UK, it's a great event, memories to showcase as well our culture and our heritage.
Yeah, that's actually unlocked a memory just then, because I do vividly remember like spending Fiesta in the Philippines when I was younger, and Fiesta in Ilocos up the north was basically the pageants. It's the pageants in the evening, and the dancing competitions, and that kind of whole evening where the barangay gets together. They have all these prizes of like sacks of rice that people can win over the night, and I vividly also remember being asked to judge a Miss Gay pageant as well, and I was like, and I don't even have any I don't have any pageantry kind of experience at all, and then just being asked to kind of judge one of them, and really kind of like just see that the amount of effort that they put into all of the costumes and kind of the makeup and the whole regalia is like amazing, and just to see that like that kind of stuff brings joy to the community is like amazing. Like that's definitely a memory that I've just unlocked there that you've reminded me of, because like
the evening bit is like the final bit of like the crowning and who wins it, but during the day you might get like a parade of all the different contestants in their like gowns and everything, and they're on this truck or something that they've made, like chairs or something, where they stand on it and like wave at everybody on the streets, kind of thing. It's true.
I do remember that. It's great memories to have, I guess, and a lot of fun back in the day, because I do remember as well when I was young that I was more into kind of dancing back then, like when I was young, and also just doing stuff without
I need videos for this.
I
need evidence of you dancing.
well, like we have a very strong kind of artistry kind of background where we're either musicians and dancers, like in our family, and back in the barangay, and there's a very strong relationship with dance that we used to do. And I remember dancing when I was a kid, like all of the kind of traditional Filipino dances and stuff, and not I haven't done it in at least 25 years, 30 years now, so but I do vaguely remember my mum and dad almost just to kind of because we're quite important in the barangay. Like they want to, you know, push their only son out there and be the face of this kind of the family and stuff. And at the time I was a bit more daring, I guess, and just didn't care about what anyone else cared about us or my family or anything. So I would just do it. But yeah, I have those very vivid memories of Fiesta doing stuff like that. So random.
Yeah.
Remember.
And you have to have a big stomach during fiestas in the Philippines, because you have to, so you eat in your house and then you go to your relative's house. You have to visit them. If it's in the same barrio, you have to go visit them, and then you have to eat again.
You have to eat at each
one. You have
one.
to go to your friend's house, and then you'll eat again. So basically, it's a whole day or a whole weekend of just eating and dancing and drinking and a whole lot of fun, basically.
Exactly that. So hopefully we're giving a good impression about what Barrio Fiesta means to us. So I guess I wanted to wrap this up with if we were to kind of do our own Barrio Fiesta in London. I know we've got our food expert here, Mae, and food obviously is probably the thing that, you know, we talk about the most as Filipinos, as Southeast Asians. Like, it's the thing that connects us all, and we're the most passionate about. Even the conversations I have with the ESEA Sky committee, like we have lengthy talks about how to cook rice. You know, like it's very, you know, like
rice.
No
rice. That's the rice.
There's certain ways of cooking rice, and there's our way, and then there's the wrong way. So so if we were to do our own Barrio Fiesta, what would be the foods that represent that? What would be the quintessential thing to show Philippines, as, you know, to represent Philippines and represent stuff that we love? I guess I want to hand that over to you, Mae, first, as the food expert between us. What would you if we were to just narrow it down to a couple of things that we want our kind of colleagues, we want the rest of the UK to learn about Philippines and start potentially, you know, asking more questions about, and really get them interested in our culture. What would that be? What would that be to represent Philippines?
I think, well, the most like popular dishes are adobo and sinigang. And now those are the two that kind of unofficially like represents Philippines. But I think it can go beyond that. I mean, there's so many different food that represent Philippines, but those two would probably be on the front of it. Lechon, definitely. The whole hog roast or belly roast would be on there. Pancit, we have so many different pancit, or noodles. Noodles are just like a variety. Pancit is basically a variety of noodles that we have. Oh, definitely halo-halo, leche flan, biko. I love biko. Biko is my favorite. Biko is like a glutinous rice cake. Sweet glutinous rice cake. Suman. Oh my god, I could really like go on. There's so many different food, and I want to highlight also the food that I've started to like research on is the food in Mindanao. There's so many different food there that not many Filipinos are aware of or haven't tried yet, and that's something that I really want to explore more of, because they have so many, like, for example, adobo. There are so many different ways to make adobo, but they also have their own version that not many people have explored. Yeah, you know, the use of coconut and burnt coconut and chilies, and you know, we have our own type of sambal in Mindanao. So you know, there are so many different food that can be included in our Barrio Fiesta, but I think those would be the top ones that should be in our Barrio Fiesta if we were to host one.
And Dom, what would your top ingredients and dishes be?
I guess I'd be biased and to say the ones I love the most. Just going back to pancit with the palabok one. That one I love. Every time I'll go home and be like, I'll go up to my mom. I'm very I'm trying to cook now because my mother is not here, and buying Filipino food in London can be an expense sometimes. So I'm learning. When I go back to Northern Ireland, I'll go inay, and then like rub against my mum and be like, "Can you make palabo, please?" And she'll make it. I think that's a good representative of the pancit. Then you're
Yeah.
not using a different type of pancit with the crushed the chichicorn, things like that. So that, and the egg and the prawn, and then the calamansi. I think that's a good mixture of that taste, especially the calamansi. That's very that's not very, I would say, like the taste that I would suggest to others to put onto their pancits and things like that. So I'm going to be biased here and say two other of my favorites that Mae has not mentioned. It's very hard to say, like, which one's your favorite? They're all my favorite. I'm going to say bistic. It's so easy to make.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's so easy to make, and like Mae said, there's different variations of bistic for every family. I'm very shocked in our household. My Irish dad will make the bistic, and for once, and he'll follow the recipe that my mum has made, and it's such a simple dish. So I think that's very meat, rice, onion, and then all of the other ingredients. So a simple dish to introduce to other people to like. And this third one would be the lugao. Lugao is my favorite dish, and like you said, that is a dish that is all over East and Southeast Asian culture. And I know the Chinese one's called congee. So like there's different variations. That is my favorite dish. It's such a basic dish that everyone can make, and I've made it twice, and it's just my favorite dish. My mom's like, why do you like that? Like all the things to pick, but that's my favorite one to eat. I'll have it that is my meal in the morning, that is my meal for lunchtime, and that is my dinner. My mom will make a pot for that, but I think that's a good dish to introduce to other people, and it's just simple, and it's very universal to the East and Southeast Asian community as well.
Yeah, I forgot to mention kare kare, the peanut stew.
Peanut stew, yeah. I love kare kare because my wife is from Pampanga, and she makes a killer peanut stew kare kare, with oxtail usually, and she'll usually take like 5 hours to cook that, but it's worth it. Yeah, definitely worth the wait.
Just hopefully no one is allergic to peanuts, but if you're not allergic to peanuts, you'll love this.
Yeah. If I was to pick mine, I'd say tocino is one of them, mainly because that's like one of my favorite kind of breakfast items, where it's just like it's like bacon but to another level, where it's like sticky and a bit burnt, a bit crispy, but kind of chewy at the time. It's really nice. So for viewers out there, tocino is our kind of candied bacon, if you will, and we normally have that for breakfast with rice and an egg usually. I'd also would have like longanisa as one of my kind of favorites. So longanisa is kind of spicy sausage that we do in the Philippines. However, just as every other kind of dish that we've said today, like there's variations all over the place of how we do longanisa. The one from my particular area in the north is called vegan longanisa. It's almost like a spicy garlic chorizo, which is completely different from any other kind of longanisa that you get from any other place in the Philippines. So I guess that's what I love as well, that kind of garlicky kind of sausage. And then if there's any kind of flavors, like Dom was saying, like calamansi is, there's two flavors. There's calamansi and there's ube that I love, and that are kind of indigenous to the Philippines that I love. And anything that's kind of either flavored by calamansi or ube is my favorite right now. Like I brought in loads of ube snacks the other day for my team, and they were the first things to go. And I tell them it's basically just a purple sweet potato, but it's actually really hard to pinpoint what the flavor is. It's kind of soft vanilla, kind of almost like it's kind of
like earthy,
yeah, and it's really hard to pinpoint, but very, very addictive, and I love it. And I think if there's anything that that I would use to represent Philippines is kind of that kind of ube, especially like with halo, like that whole just getting a cup and mixing it, mix, and having that ube ice cream up on top is just yeah, the icing on that
divine.
cake.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a whole party in that cup.
Yeah,
basically.
there's so many textures and flavors going on in a halo that, oh my god, if you just try it. Anyone, I implore anyone who's listening to this, just if you ever get a chance to try halo, it's just the best experience, and make sure you mix it up and get all of those flavors going in your mouth and all of those textures. So yeah, so on that positive note, I think I want to thank both Dominic and Mae for your time today, for speaking our kind of, you know, memories about Barrio Fiesta, about kind of food and the things that really matter to us as Filipinos living in the UK. Thank you for that. Dom, I know you're a colleague here, but I wanted to give Mae her spotlight as well. Mae, if you want to show the world and share the world about your fabulous work that you do, everything that you want to share, please do.
Hi everyone who's listening. I hope that you'll come and follow me on Instagram, Food with Mae. I do a lot of Filipino recipes on there and on my blog. I do both classic and kind of quick meals, you know, for professionals as well, because or even families actually, that I love using, because I'm also a mom, so I have less time sometimes to cook. So I wanted to highlight traditional or classic recipes as well as the modern recipes on there. And I also have Baon London. Baon means packed food, so I do Filipino food deliveries in London. So if you're in London, please visit Baon London and try Filipino food. And I have lechon there. I have pork belly lechon, which is slow roasted pork belly. I actually have palabok in there too. So if you want it, if you're in London, you know, come and try my pancit. And I've got my summer dishes at the moment on there too. So if you haven't tried Filipino food before, or if you're thinking of learning how to cook Filipino food, do visit my blog or my Instagram. Or if you don't feel like cooking, you can always order from me. So on Baon. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a fun walk down memory lane, and you know, I really, actually, we haven't had Barrio Fiesta since the pandemic happened, so I really miss that, and I wish hopefully next summer we will have another Barrio Fiesta in Hampton Court, I think, right?
Yeah, I think is where they have.
Oh yeah, I wish next year we'll have a Barrio Fiesta.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully. So thank you for everyone for listening to the latest EC Conversations podcast. Look out for the next podcast next month. But in the meantime, thank you to Dom and thank you to Mae, and also actually I forgot, happy EC Heritage Month to everyone as well who's celebrating. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.